All right, how safe is your neighborhood? That's the question. Do you know how many homes have been burgled in your area recently? Was it violent? Was anyone killed? And before you move into an area, wouldn't you like to know? News 24 have launched Crime Check, an application they say will help all of us better gauge the risks of where we live and obviously enable us to take appropriate actions so we're not victims of crime. The editor-in-chief of News 24 is Adrian Besson, who joins us now on the line. Adrian, thank you so much for your time. Sorry to wake you up so early, but what prompted this idea?
Morning, Bungani. Thanks for having me. Look, I think every quarter when the crime stats are announced, it's all these big figures like murder is up by this and assault is down by that. But, what does it mean for each of us where we live in our police precinct? So that's what really prompted us to put together this data journalism project where we give people the opportunity to look at crime trends in where they live, put in your address, see where's your police precinct that is covered by your police office, and then see how crime has gone up and down over the past 7 years. Obviously, we rely on the police's crime statistics, which is not perfect, but it's all we have as a country, and it does give some level of indication of crime trends in neighborhoods.
All right, so it's sourced from SAP's data, and it provides, more than 50 types of crimes committed in every precinct?
Indeed. So you can compare different addresses as well. If you, for example, want to move house and you're not sure in other neighborhoods or towns or cities, which places are safer or where there's less robberies, for example, you can compare it. And there's been some interesting results from Ghana. I must say, I compared my old address in Johannesburg with where I live in Cape Town now with where I go on holiday, and there's been some surprises, I must tell you. The old story that Joburg is the most crime-ridden place doesn't hold true for everything. You can choose, to see violent crimes. You can choose to see economic crimes, and make decisions based on that.
To be fair, I remember the old neighborhood in Johannesburg, and it's a pretty decent one. But hang on, these boundaries, do they match regular mapping in terms of, suburbs and how they're demarcated, or even municipal wards based on where police precincts typically, tend to be?
Look, that was one of our biggest challenges because now police precincts are very specific mapped. There's nothing else that's mapped like police precincts. So one police office could cover a number of neighborhoods or areas. But it's pretty much, people know their police office, and those areas are close to each other. So we also show that on a map. You can see if you're not exactly sure what your police precinct covers, you can see that on a map. And then compare the results between your precinct and others.
So, obviously it would all depend on whether those crimes are reported, and there are a number of factors that could go into that. But how does this app actually work?
So you go to News 24, look for Crime Check on any of our platforms, or just Google Crime Check News 24, and then you can put in your address to see how crime is looking in your area, which specific crimes has gone up and down where you live. Or you can then compare 2 or 3 different addresses to each other and see how the crime stacks up between those areas. I think it's also a powerful tool for people to hold their local police officers to account and ask them, listen, why has burglary gone up in the past year? We've seen on this app that there's been a spike in burglary, and what are you doing about it? So hopefully it can also empower citizens from that perspective.
Would it be a fair concern to say this kind of thing could potentially not so much increase vigilance, but maybe fear?
I don't think so. I think the opposite. I think this empowers people, to feel a bit less apprehensive about crime and knowledge of it. This is all available. Crime stats are published on the police's website, but it's not in a digestible form. I think this empowers us to see what types of crimes are prevalent where we live, and what can we do about it. There's lots of myths, Bungani. We are a fearful nation, and you would know that there's often been studies showing that people's perceptions of crime are often far removed from the reality. So hopefully an app like this can bring those two things a bit closer.
702.
More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.